The hidden arrival. The Galactic Council chamber was alive with quiet laughter. To them, the idea of a human warship was nothing but a myth, a campfire tale whispered on the edges of space. Most records of Earth's fleet were erased centuries ago after humanity withdrew from the Council's affairs. Files were sealed, ships dismantled, or so everyone believed. But whispers had begun again. On the far rim, entire patrol fleets had gone missing. No debris, no distress signals, no survivors, only silence. A few merchant convoys reported a shadow slipping through the dark, a single vessel moving with impossible speed, tearing through ships as if they were paper. The Council dismissed these rumors, calling them pirate exaggerations. Still, the unease spread like cracks in glass. In a dusty archive deep beneath the capital world, an old officer named Darren scrolled through forbidden records. He had seen one ship's name appear in classified logs again and again. Aegis. The word itself had been struck out, buried under layers of encryption, but fragments remained. A hull that resisted every known weapon, a reactor that bent physics, a silence that followed it wherever it went. Darren leaned back in his chair. He had served long enough to know fear when he saw it in the eyes of younger officers. They didn't want answers. They wanted denial. But denial would not stop what was coming. Far from the Council's shining halls, in the black expanse between stars, the truth glided forward. The ship was no myth. It was real. The Aegis. Its hull reflected no starlight, a ghost wrapped in void. No beacon, no signal. Only the faint hum of its engines, a sound so low, so heavy, it seemed to make space itself shiver. Inside, the crew moved with quiet discipline. They were not many. Humanity had no empire, no endless armadas like the Council races. Instead, they had built one ship, one swear to every threat. "Target grid clear," reported a young lieutenant, voice steady but sharp. The captain, an older man with eyes that had seen too much war, gave a single nod. His hand touched the console like one touches a blade. "Then we remind them," he said softly, "why they buried our name." Hours later, a Council fleet of 30 ships drifted into an asteroid belt, chasing what they believed was a pirate hideout. They did not expect resistance. They did not expect fear. Their comms flickered once, static, then silence. One by one, the fleet's lights winked out. The Aegis had arrived. From the blackness it emerged, enormous yet silent, like a predator that had always been there, waiting. Its outline dwarfed even the largest dreadnought. The Council ships scrambled, firing beams, launching torpedoes. Nothing touched it. The energy bent, fading before it reached the hull. Missiles drifted dead, guidance systems erased by unseen countermeasures. Then came the reply. A single blast lit up the belt. Not fire, not plasma, something older, sharper, as if the void itself had been turned into a weapon. One Council cruiser vanished instantly, torn apart into glowing fragments. Panic spread through the fleet. Orders turned to screaming. The Aegis did not rush. It moved slowly, methodically, choosing targets, erasing them one by one. No survivors, no distress calls, only silence. Back at the Council chamber, reports came in broken and incomplete. A fleet had been destroyed, 30 ships gone in less than an hour. The laughter stopped. Fear filled the room. But instead of speaking the truth, the Council chose the safer lie. They called it an accident, a freak collapse in the asteroid belt. They locked away the fragments of data. Yet those who knew, those who had seen the pattern, whispered the same words in dark halls. "It's the human ship. The Aegis is back." And the galaxy shivered. Buried warnings. The Council pretended calm, but behind closed doors panic spread. 30 ships gone in less than an hour. Such loss was impossible. No pirate could do this. No known species had that kind of weaponry. Yet the official report was rewritten. Unstable asteroids, tragic accident, nothing more. But not everyone believed the lie. Darren, The old officer who had once glimpsed the buried records stared at the altered report in disgust. He had seen this before, truth twisted into silence. Long ago, when humanity still stood in the Council's chambers, their ships had been whispered about in the same way. Too strong, too unpredictable, too human. The Council had thought they ended it, erasing fleets, sealing archives, forcing Earth into exile. But deep in his bones, Darren knew, they failed. Something survived. He leaned closer to his terminal, bypassing layers of encryption with trembling fingers. Behind the Council's lies, fragments of truth leaked through. Power signatures unlike anything in the known galaxy. Weapon bursts that left scars on space itself. And a familiar name, Aegis. "They tried to bury you," Darren muttered, "but you came back." Meanwhile, whispers spread in the outer colonies. Miners spoke of a dark shape drifting past their stations. Merchants swore their sensors glitched whenever it appeared. Soldiers on patrol reported strange signals, deep echoes like a heartbeat in the void. And then the disappearances grew. Another patrol vanished, then a convoy, always in silence, always without trace. Some called it a phantom, others a weapon, but the oldest remembered what humans once built. On the ship itself, the Aegis moved like a predator through the stars. Its crew knew what they carried. They were not conquerors, not empire builders. They were guardians of something older, something the Council had feared so much they tried to erase. Bitter human defiance. "Another fleet has been deployed," the lieutenant reported. 60 ships. They're moving to intercept us." The captain stood silent, staring at the projection. His voice was calm, steady, carrying the weight of a man who had long ago accepted war. "They think numbers will save them." He paused. "They still don't understand." The intercept took place near the shattered moon of Vera. 60 ships, an entire strike arm of the Council's proudest fleets, waited with weapons locked. Their commanders sneered, certain the enemy was only one vessel. And then it appeared. The Aegis slid from the blackness, larger than myth had claimed, darker than the void around it. Its hull carried no markings, no banners, only silence. "Fire at will," shouted the Council admiral. Beams lanced out. Torpedoes screamed forward. The moon's surface boiled with energy. When the light faded, the human ship still drifted, untouched. Then it answered. A single broadside turned 3 Council destroyers into ash. The shockwave rippled across space, tearing smaller ships apart like toys. The admiral screamed for retreat, but retreat was no escape. The Aegis moved like death itself, calm, deliberate, unstoppable. One by one, the fleet died. Hours later, the Council chamber sat in silence. The survivors, few and broken, had sent fragments of recordings before their ships vanished. Images of a shadow tearing through fleets. Images the Council tried, once again, to bury. But fear spread faster than secrecy. Soldiers whispered, traitors carried stories across star lanes. Colonies muttered the same word again and again, human. The Council tried to deny it, but deep down they knew. The Aegis had returned, and this time, truth would not stay buried. Whispers of war. The galaxy was no longer calm. Every system felt the ripple of fear. Merchants avoided entire trade routes, afraid of vanishing in the dark. Mining guilds abandoned outposts on the rim. Soldiers muttered in their barracks, refusing to patrol certain sectors. And in the Council chamber, the leaders argued like frightened children. "It is one ship," barked the Chancellor. "One ship cannot threaten the balance of the galaxy." But others whispered the truth. If it is human, it does not need more than one. Darren, still hidden deep in the archives, kept watching. The reports were flooding in faster now, fleets erased, convoys destroyed, moons scarred by weapons no one understood. He pieced together the fragments line by line until a shape formed. The Aegis was not simply powerful. It was designed to terrify. Its shields bent physics, swallowing energy fire like water. Its weapons were not plasma, not ion, not anything the galaxy had words for. They cut through matter as if slicing time itself. And worst of all, every battle ended in silence. No survivors, no transmissions, only fear. Darren knew why. Humans never wanted to be underestimated again. In the colonies, the whispers grew bolder. Old veterans, men and women who had once fought beside humans centuries ago, began to speak. They told of Earth's final vow when it left the Council. We will not be your soldiers. We will not be your pawns. But if you ever come for us again, you will remember what fear means. Now it seemed the promise was kept. On board the Aegis, the crew prepared in silence. Reports of Council fleets building on the core worlds reached their captains' ears. The galaxy would not stop until it destroyed them, or was destroyed trying. They will send everything, the lieutenant warned. The captain's gaze was cold, steady. Then they will see everything. The trap came soon, than expected. Near the red giant of Saurion, an entire armada lay in wait. 200 ships pulled from 5 different sectors. Their plan was simple: surround the Aegis, choke it with numbers, drown it in fire. The Aegis arrived anyway. The galaxy watched through hidden probes, through stolen feeds. Millions of eyes held their breath as the lone ship faced an armada. The Council's commander raised his hand. Fire! The void lit up brighter than a sun. When the fire cleared, the Aegis still moved forward, unstoppable, untouched. Then the ship's hull pulsed once, like a heartbeat, and the armada died. Not slowly, not piece by piece, but all at once. Beams cut through entire squadrons. Explosions tore dreadnoughts apart. Cruisers twisted, broke, and scattered into the void. Within minutes, the battlefield was silent. 200 ships, gone. The probes carried the footage back across the stars. The Council tried to censor it. They failed. Every colony, every trader, every soldier saw what had happened. And the whispers turned to a single truth that could no longer be denied. The human ship was real. The human ship was unstoppable. And the galaxy began to fear not just the Aegis, but humanity itself. The truth they tried to hide. The Council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. It was filled with silence. 200 ships, an entire armada, wiped from existence. And all by a single vessel. Leaders shouted in private halls, demanding explanations, demanding lies that would calm their people. But the truth was spreading too quickly. Every probe, every stolen broadcast, every whispered rumor painted the same picture. The Aegis was real. And it was human. Darren, buried in the archives, worked until his eyes burned. Every locked file he broke open revealed the same secret. This was not the first time. Centuries ago, before Earth withdrew, the Council had faced the same nightmare. Human ships, unmatched and terrifying, had turned entire wars upside down. When the Council tried to control humanity, they found themselves outmatched. They had panicked. They had erased records, dismantled fleets, and forced humanity into silence. But they had not destroyed everything. They had missed one ship, and not just any ship. The Aegis had been the crown jewel of Earth's fleet, a weapon of last resort, a symbol of what humanity could become when pushed too far. Darren sat back in his chair, shivering. The Council had buried the truth, but now the grave was open again. Across the galaxy, cracks spread through the Council's power. Colonies began to murmur openly. If the humans had this power, why did the Council fear them so much? Merchants whispered of siding with Earth rather than opposing it. Soldiers, tired of dying in hopeless battles, began deserting. The fear was no longer just of the Aegis. It was of what it represented, the return of humanity. On board the ship itself, the crew felt the weight of their actions. They had shattered fleets, erased armies, but still, the Council kept coming. Reports show they are gathering again, the lieutenant said quietly. Not just ships, entire nations, they are uniting against us. The captain's eyes narrowed. Good. Then when they fall, they will fall together. But even he knew the truth. Brute strength alone could not win forever. The Aegis was powerful, yes. Feared, yes. But humanity had built it for a reason far greater than destruction. It was not just a weapon, it was a message. The council, desperate, convened in secret. Leaders from a dozen races argued, shouted, accused. Some demanded peace, others demanded total extermination. Finally, one voice broke through. "We cannot bury this anymore," an elder said, his voice shaking. "We cannot silence the truth. The humans swore they would return if we threatened them again, and now they have." The chamber froze. If that was true, then the Aegis was not just a rogue ship. It was the first step in something far larger. That night, across the stars, messages were smuggled to Earth. Old alliances were rekindled in whispers. Colonies sent envoys, begging for humanity's favor. Soldiers abandoned their posts, secretly pledging loyalty to the ship they once feared. The galaxy was shifting, the Council's control was breaking, and in the shadows, the Aegis moved ever closer to the core worlds. Darren sat alone, staring at the last line of an ancient human transmission he had uncovered. Words sent the day Earth walked away from the Council. "You can bury our name. You can burn our history, but you cannot kill what we are. One day you will remember. One day you will fear. And on that day we will return." He whispered the words to himself, a chill running down his spine. That day had come. The day the galaxy remembered. The core worlds had never known fear. Protected by endless fleets, defended by walls of firepower, the Council capital had always believed itself untouchable. But when the alarms blared and the skies darkened, everyone knew the truth. Safety was an illusion. From the void, the Aegis arrived. Its massive hull blotted out the stars, a silent shadow above the jewel of the galaxy. No banners, no signals, no warnings. Just its presence was enough to silence an entire world. Inside the Council chamber, chaos reigned. Leaders shouted, demanded defenses, called for fleets that no longer existed. Armadas had been erased, colonies had abandoned them, soldiers had deserted. All that remained was fear. Darren, summoned at last from the archives, stood before the panicked rulers. His voice was steady, though his hands trembled. "You tried to bury the truth," he said. "You thought humanity would fade, but you never understood. You cannot erase a people who refuse to be forgotten." The chamber fell silent. Outside, the Aegis hung in orbit, patient, waiting. Then the ship spoke. Its voice echoed across every channel, every frequency, every screen. Not loud, not angry, calm, steady, unshakable. "This is the Aegis. We are humanity's reminder. You thought us gone. You thought us broken. But we are here, and we do not forget." Across the galaxy, colonies froze. Soldiers listening in their barracks held their breath. Merchants paused mid-trade. Farmers on distant moons looked up at the stars. Everyone heard. Everyone understood. Humanity had returned. The Council ordered an attack. Their last fleet, a pitiful remnant of once great power, rose to challenge the ship. Dozens of vessels fired everything they had. The Aegis did not move. Weapons bent, beams flickered, missiles died mid-flight, and when the human ship finally answered, it was not with annihilation. One pulse, one single blast. Enough to cripple every enemy ship, but not destroy them. Enough to show dominance without erasing the core world itself. The message was clear. We could have ended you, but we chose not to. Panic turned to silence. Silence turned to realization. The galaxy finally understood. The Aegis was not here for conquest. It was not here to rule. It was here to remind them that humanity could never be controlled, never be buried, never be erased. The Council fell quiet, trembling in their seats. And for the first time in centuries, the rulers of the galaxy lowered their heads. On board the Aegis, the captain gave the final order. "Transmit this to every corner of the galaxy," he said. The lieutenant nodded, and the words spread across every system. "We are not your slaves. We are not your pawns. We are humanity. You feared us once, and you were right to. Fear us again, and you will not survive." Darren, watching from the chamber, felt a strange weight lift from his chest. The lies, the buried truth, the silence. It was all broken now. The galaxy would never again laugh at humanity. The Aegis turned slowly, leaving orbit. It did not need to fire again. It did not need to destroy the capital. Its message was louder than fire. And as it slipped back into the void, every race, every world, every leader whispered the same thing. The humans are back. The Council had tried to bury the truth. But the truth had returned, clad in steel, armed with fire, carried by a ship the galaxy could never forget. The Aegis, the ship that the galaxy feared, the ship that reminded them all, humanity never disappears.